Did you know that there are reports of people who entered the Vatican Secret Library and were simply never seen again? What did they discover inside? So dangerous, so forbidden, that it cost them their lives? Few people know the truth behind the walls of Vatican, one of the most mysterious and inaccessible places in the history of humanity. But rumors have always circulated. Dark reports of missing researchers, secret documents that could never be revealed, and a hidden collection that keeps the greatest secrets of the Catholic Church. We are talking about a place where the Vatican hides banned texts, apocryphal gospels, hidden prophecies and manuscripts capable of shake the foundations of the Christian faith. But why would the Vatican keep all this so closely guarded? What is so dangerous about these secret documents? For centuries, conspiracy theories emerged, stating that the Catholic Church hid evidence that could forever change everything we know about the history of Christianity. Some say that there are manuscripts in there that reveal a totally different version of Jesus' life. Others guarantee that there are records about fallen angels, demons, and even contacts with beings from other worlds. All of this guarded, locked, and protected by a wall of silence. Now imagine what someone would find if they had access to this banned Vatican library. How many censored books would reveal hidden truths? How many secret documents would they unearth stories that humanity should never know? This is exactly what makes this story even more disturbing. Because in fact, there are records of scholars and explorers who tried to uncover these secrets and disappeared without a trace. They crossed the line of human curiosity and paid the price. And you? Have you ever stopped to think about what the Vatican really hides? How far does the power of the Church go to protect these secrets? And most importantly, if these revelations came to light, would the world be the same? Today, you will discover details that few dare to tell, secrets that were buried for centuries and that can now finally be revealed. But before continuing on this journey through the darkest and most forbidden secrets of the Vatican, I want to make you a very important invitation. Leave yours here in the comments prayer request. Yes, now write your name or the name of someone you love and who needs a blessing, because together we will create a chain of faith and prayer in the comments of this video. No matter what your belief or religion is, here, we all have something in common: the search for truth and the desire to protect what we love most. This space goes beyond theories and hidden secrets. It is also a place where we can strengthen our faith, elevate our thoughts, and ask for spiritual protection. After all, when we delve deeper into mysteries like these, involving the secrets of the Vatican, hidden prophecies, and prohibited documents, it is impossible not to feel the weight of this energy. Therefore, write your prayer, your request. Let's form this chain together and pray for everyone here. And of course, if this content has already caught your attention, leave your like right now. This is very important for YouTube to deliver this video to more people who are also looking for answers and want to know what the Vatican has been hiding for centuries. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because there are still a lot of revealing things coming. And I guarantee you, what you will discover in the next few minutes could forever change the way you see the history of the Church and humanity. The truth is that few really know what exists behind the doors of Vatican Secret Library, one of the most protected and inaccessible places in the world. A true vault of ancient secrets that holds what the Vatican never wanted the world to know. Officially, it is called Vatican Secret Apostolic Archive, and although the name secret makes you shiver, the word in origin means private. But let's face it, when we talk about the Vatican, nothing is that simple. Because what's inside goes far beyond ordinary files. We are talking about ancient documents, sacred manuscripts, prohibited texts, apocryphal books, and possibly hidden prophecies which the Church itself preferred to hide from humanity. And it's no small feat. The size of the Vatican Secret Library is frightening. There are more than 85 kilometers of shelves crammed with documents, books, and records dating back more than 1,200 years of history. Now breathe and think with me. What could be stored in a structure of this size, which spans centuries and has resisted wars, revolutions, and scandals? The Vatican claims that official church documents, pope records, correspondence, and even political treaties are stored there. But is that really all? Why do so many scholars and researchers claim that there are also the greatest secrets of Christianity, prohibited manuscripts that never reached our eyes, hidden sacred books that could forever change our view of the history of faith? There are those who say that among these shelves is the true version of the Bible, the one that has been altered and manipulated over the centuries, precisely to maintain the Church's power and control over the faithful. And it doesn't stop there. There are theories that documents that talk about the fallen angels, the true accounts of Lucifer, secret texts that detail the functioning of heaven and hell, and even records that would reveal the existence of extraterrestrial life, kept in absolute secrecy to protect humanity from a truth that we may not be prepared to know. But the burning question is, what's so dangerous in there? Why is access to this library restricted to a very privileged few? Why can't anyone just go in, search, read, and walk away with information? The Vatican allows access to an extremely limited part of the documents, and, even then, under total surveillance. Researchers need special authorization, go through bureaucratic processes, and, even so, are only able to touch previously selected documents. It's as if the Church said, "You can see this, but don't you dare want to know the rest." And that's where the mystery grows. Because if they were just historical archives, why so much secrecy? Why so many rules? What is really hidden in there? The deeper you go, the more you realize that the hole is much deeper than it appears. Some theories suggest that the most dangerous and revealing documents are not even catalogued. They would be kept in secret vaults within the library itself, accessible only to the Pope and a restricted circle of cardinals. Manuscripts that could shake not only the Christian faith, but the entire power structure that the Vatican has built over the centuries. There are reports that inside there would be documents describing ancient rituals, forbidden magic, hidden knowledge inherited from ancient civilizations, and even concrete proof that the Church has always known secrets of humanity that have never been made public. And then we return to the point that brought you here. The dark reports of people who, when trying to access these secrets, simply disappeared. Historians, researchers, experts who got too close to the truth and were never seen again. What did these people find? Or rather, what were they about to find? Because inside the Vatican Secret Library, the danger may not just be what is written, but everything those words hide. A truth so devastating that it would be capable of crumbling the faith of millions of people around the world. Have you ever imagined if the apocryphal Gospels stored inside would reveal a totally different story about the life of Jesus? What if there were manuscripts detailing that many of the Church's dogmas were created just to maintain control over the people? Imagine for a moment that these forbidden documents prove that the story told for centuries is nothing more than a carefully chosen version, while the truth is under lock and key, right there, in the depths of the most feared library in the world. And most disturbingly, what if the Vatican is not only protecting these secrets of humanity, but also protecting itself? Because deep down, perhaps it is not faith that is at stake, but power. And that's why I need your attention now. Because the further we go, the more it becomes clear that this story is far from just a curiosity about old books. This involves conspiracy, manipulation, power, faith, and absolute control over what we can and cannot know. And most importantly, it brings us face to face with one of humanity's biggest questions. What does the Vatican? And are we really prepared to know the answer? But don't worry, because this story is just beginning. And if you've made it this far, I want to ask you something very special. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? The Vatican keeps under lock and key inside this secret library. Write the sentence, "I want to know what the Vatican hides," or tell me what secret you believe is locked inside. Also remember to leave your like right now. This really helps the channel to grow and spread this investigation to more people. And the scariest thing is that there are documented stories, ancient reports, and persistent rumors about people who dared to cross the doors of Vatican Secret Library, and they never came back to tell what they saw. One of the oldest and most mentioned cases among Vatican researchers involves an Italian historian named Luigi Malvezzi, a scholar fascinated by the apocryphal texts and the prohibited records of hidden history of Christianity. They say that, after years of insistence, He obtained restricted authorization to access part of the secret files, something that very few people in the world can do. What few know is that Malvesi was never seen in public again after that visit. Official records state that he simply withdrew from his studies and withdrew from public life by his own choice. But there are those who guarantee that it wasn't quite like that. Some witnesses say that he left the library upset, as if he had seen something that his human mind was unable to bear. From that moment on, rumors began to emerge that he had found forbidden records, texts that talked about the real secrets of the Vatican, apocryphal books, hidden prophecies, and even detailed accounts of the origins of evil and the true role of the Catholic Church in manipulating faith over the centuries. Malvesi's disappearance became a taboo among academics, and no one dared to question the Vatican about the historian's whereabouts. His story became known as the first major evidence that there is something really dangerous hidden inside. A secret so big, so devastating, that exposing it to the world could destroy not only the reputation of the Church, but also the very balance of the Christian faith. And that's not the only story. Over the years, other rumors emerged, other sinister narratives about scholars, archaeologists, theologians, and even members of the Church itself, who were invited to discover the Vatican Secret Library and disappeared from the pages of history soon after. Some disappeared without a trace, others were found dead under suspicious circumstances, and there are even reports of people who simply went crazy after accessing certain documents. Coincidence? Or is there something within those walls capable of breaking anyone's sanity? The fact is that fear has taken over the academic community. Today, many experts refuse invitations or even avoid any type of involvement with Vatican's secret archives. Some claim that there is a kind of curse that falls on those who dare to seek too much for the truth that the Vatican tries to hide. And when you stop to think about it, it's hard not to put yourself in these people's shoes. What if it were you? What if you had the opportunity to cross the doors of this forbidden library, knowing that inside are the darkest secrets of the Catholic Church, prophecies that never reached us, and stories that could forever change the history of humanity? Would you have the courage to move on? Think with me. How far would you go to find out what really happened centuries ago? What is behind the dogmas that the Church has imposed throughout history? What if you found a document, a single manuscript that could prove that everything we were taught was carefully manipulated? That the truth about Jesus, about the apostles, about the very sacred texts that sustain the faith of millions of people around the world, is completely different from what is written on the pages of the Bible that we know today? Would it be possible to handle this weight? Or would the fear, the risk, the danger be too great for you? And this is exactly why the Vatican so tightly controls access to these secret archives. Because it's not just about protecting ancient documents, it's about protecting the very fabric of the Christian faith. It's about keeping hidden everything that, if it came to light, could upend centuries of power, influence, and control. And the more we listen to these stories, the clearer it becomes that Vatican Secret Library, it is not just a historical archive. It is a veritable arsenal of secrets, of conspiracies, of forbidden documents that were buried there never to see the light of day again. And in the midst of all this, one can't help but wonder, what is the Vatican so afraid of revealing? What was seen by those who entered and did not leave? What is so disturbing in the pages of those manuscripts that made trained men, prepared scholars, succumb to the weight of forbidden knowledge? Were they reports of supernatural events, contacts with other civilizations, or perhaps concrete evidence that hell itself may not be a metaphor, but something real, documented and kept secret by the Church? The truth is that no one knows for sure what is hidden there, but the fear of finding out is real. And when talking about lost prophecies, the weight of what may be hidden within the Vatican Secret Library becomes even scarier. There are reports that entire documents containing ancient prophecies they were hidden from subsequent generations, kept under extreme surveillance by the highest echelons of the Church, because their revelations could simply implode what we know as Christian faith. Texts that describe the end of times in shocking detail, revelations about the true nature of the Church, the papacy itself, and even the destiny of humanity. Prophecies that never reached the public precisely because they are considered too dangerous. capable of causing a collapse of faith in millions of people around the world. Now, imagine for a moment what it would be like to find in there, among those infinite shelves, a manuscript that predicts exactly everything we are experiencing. Today, wars, diseases, pandemics, and that reveals that all of this was already written centuries ago, but was silenced by the Church. And it doesn't stop there. With each report from scholars who tried to get closer to these hidden truths, new evidence emerges of the existence of the apocryphal Gospels, texts that were left out of the Bible we know today, but that provide completely different accounts of the lives of Jesus and the apostles. These Gospels, according to rumors, reveal a face of Christ that the Church preferred to hide. Some describe Jesus as a more human being, with doubts, fears, and even relationships that were never officially admitted. Others speak of teachings that could call into question the interpretations that the Vatican has maintained for centuries. One of them, the Gospel of Judas, for example, presents Judas not as a traitor, but as someone who fulfilled a mission given by Jesus himself, something that completely dismantles the concept of betrayal and redemption preached to this day. Now, imagine the impact of a document like this coming to light. How would the faith of millions of people resist the weight of a new truth, which does not match what we have heard since we were children? But it is not just the apocryphal Gospels that feed this mystery. Inside the Vatican Secret Library, hidden in the shadows of the endless corridors, there are documents that could completely rewrite the history of the Christian faith. Texts that speak of secret councils, where the foundations of religion were decided behind closed doors, where entire passages of the Bible were removed or modified to maintain the Church's control over its faithful. What if everything we know today as sacred was actually the result of political decisions, not divine ones? Ancient manuscripts would reveal that the Church shaped history according to its convenience, erasing any part that could weaken its hold on the people. There are accounts of documents that describe how miraculous events were created, how saints were canonized not for their holiness, but for the need to reinforce narratives of power. The most disturbing thing is to think that all this manipulation could have happened right before our eyes, hidden precisely where no one would ever have access. A veritable archive of forbidden secrets, kept for centuries, and which only survived because those who dared to get too close were silenced, intimidated, or simply disappeared from history. The feeling of imagining what is inside is suffocating, because if these truths really exist, they would not only change our view of the Church, but also of the figure of God himself, of spirituality, and of the meaning of faith. Now I want you to stop and think. What would you do if you had access to these secret documents? Would you have the courage to read every word, knowing that with every page your faith could be shaken forever? Or would you back off, fearing you'll discover something you're not ready to carry? Because that is exactly what is at stake within the Vatican Secret Library, a collection that, according to many scholars, holds the power to rewrite the entire history of humanity, revealing that the faith that many believe to be unshakable was shaped, manipulated, and hidden by those who have held power for centuries. And that is why access is restricted, the doors are closed, and the few who manage to get close to the most sensitive documents do so under the weight of an oath of silence that echoes for all eternity. Because it's not just about protecting ancient documents or preserving history. It's about keeping the greatest power structure in human history intact. And then, at this point, the question comes back to you. What if all this is true? What if what was hidden there is exactly what we always suspected? And if inside those shelves are proof that the Vatican always knew the truth, but chose silence to maintain order? And before I continue, I really want to know what you think about all of this. Tell me here in the comments if you believe that the Vatican really hides these prohibited documents. He writes, "I want the truth," or share your opinion, because it is very important to know how far you would go in this search for the darkest secrets of the Catholic Church. And the most disturbing thing of all is to think about the possibilities surrounding the fate of those people who dared to get too close to the truth, hidden in the depths of the world. Vatican Secret Library. After all, What really happened to the researchers, historians, and even members of the Church itself who disappeared after trying to unravel the forbidden secrets of the Vatican? Were they just coincidences? Or is there something much bigger behind each mysterious disappearance? Some scholars raise the theory that these men were silenced, victims of a system so powerful and influential that it goes to great lengths to protect what has been hidden for centuries. A system that has always acted in the shadows, ready to eliminate anyone who dared to threaten the fragile balance between imposed faith and never revealed truth. How many were forced to remain silent forever? How many have disappeared without a trace, simply because they saw what they shouldn't have seen? Others believe that, given the grandeur and gravity of the secrets found, these men chose exile. They chose to disappear from the map, to hide somewhere where they would never be found, dominated by the fear of being persecuted, silenced, or even killed. Imagine that someone, upon discovering the contents of prohibited manuscripts, hidden prophecies, and apocryphal texts, he chose to give up his own public life, his career, and his own identity, just to not carry the weight of that knowledge. It's scary, but is it really that hard to believe? After all, how many of us would bear the pressure of knowing that we carry with us a secret capable of destroying centuries of belief, shaking the faith of millions, and even becoming the target of one of the most powerful institutions in the history of humanity? And then, there are those who believe in the darkest theories, that some simply died mysteriously, victims of strange accidents, sudden illnesses, or inexplicable situations that have always surrounded those who tried to go too far on this journey through Vatican secrets. There are many coincidences, and the records are always covered up by official versions that are not very convincing. What if, in fact, these deaths were faked? What if these accidents were meticulously planned to ensure that no one ever revealed what they saw inside the Vatican Secret Library? It's as if the place itself is surrounded by a dark aura, capable of cursing those who dare get too close to the truth. And that's precisely when the scariest and most intriguing conspiracy theories begin to emerge. Theories that claim that inside those shelves are not just old documents, but yes, concrete evidence of secret rituals, contacts with supernatural entities, and even reports of forbidden experiments conducted by members of the Church itself. There are those who say that the manuscripts hidden inside contain shocking reports about the involvement of religious authorities in occult practices, ancestral magic, and even pacts made with forces that should never be awakened. This would explain why there is so much fear, so much mystery, and especially so much power to silence those who try to reveal these secrets. Some of these theories even claim that the Vatican itself has documents in its hands that prove the existence of extraterrestrial life, records of contacts made centuries ago and kept hidden from humanity for fear of the chaos it would cause. Others claim that among the secret files are manuscripts detailing the true fate of Jesus Christ, versions of history that were erased, rewritten, and shaped over the years until they became the official narrative we know today. And the scariest thing, if all of this is real, if all of these stories, rumors, and theories have at least a grain of truth, what would that mean for the world? How many times has humanity been deceived? How many truths have been buried under the weight of faith and obedience? What was actually seen by those men who crossed the gates of Vatican Secret Library and they never came back the same? Could they be witnesses to secrets so dark that they simply could not bear the weight of revelation? Or were they silenced before they could tell what they saw? The truth is that no one knows for sure, but the questions remain, increasingly disturbing, and it's impossible not to put yourself in these people's shoes. Have you ever stopped to think, what if it were you? What if you were there, in front of an ancient manuscript, yellowed with time, reading hidden truths that could destroy everything humanity has believed in for centuries? Would you have the courage to continue reading, or would you drop everything, run away, exile yourself forever, in a desperate attempt to erase from your mind what should never have been read? It is questions like these that make us understand why the Vatican is so protective of what is hidden there. Because the truth, when it is too big, becomes an impossible burden to carry. And the deeper we delve into these dark accounts of what may be hidden in Vatican Secret Library, the more disturbing everything becomes. because among the most feared documents, those locked in the most protected vaults and never shown to the world, would be manuscripts capable of completely rewriting the history of Jesus Christ, ancient texts forgotten by time and kept under surveillance, which bring a narrative totally different from the one we know. Stories that do not show Jesus as the divine Son of God, but rather as a man, a prophet, with ancestral knowledge and powers that did not come from heaven, but from something much more earthly, or who knows, from another world. There are rumors that some of these manuscripts claim that Jesus was initiated into occult rituals, that he traveled to distant lands in search of forbidden wisdom, learning from the great ancient masters the secrets of the universe and the manipulation of the laws of nature. They also say that these texts describe an alliance between Jesus and beings described as celestial, but which are not angels in the traditional sense. Reports that speak of entities that came from the heavens, but not from the spiritual sky, but from other worlds, other dimensions, beings with power and knowledge so advanced that they were taken as divine by those who witnessed their appearances. This would explain the miracles, the impossible feats, and even Jesus' prophecies about the end times, because according to these theories, he knew exactly what was coming, not because he was God incarnate, but because he carried with him the knowledge brought by these superior entities. And this is where another, even more obscure point comes in: the texts about fallen angels and demons, forbidden documents that never reached the public, but were hidden within the walls of the Vatican, revealing details never before told about the rebellion of the angels and the true origin of Lucifer. Texts that go far beyond the biblical versions, showing that the so-called fallen angels may have, in fact, been beings of another nature, expelled not for disobedience, but for defying a system of control much greater than we can imagine. What if demons, as we know them today, were nothing more than a label given to these beings by those who won the celestial war? What if the entire story of creation, fall, and eternal damnation had been shaped solely to maintain the fear, control, and submission of the masses? Within these secret manuscripts, there would be descriptions of ancient rituals, pacts with shadow entities, invocations that should never be done, and that, according to some scholars, are still practiced today in occult circles within the church itself. And it doesn't stop there, because these documents would also bring the much-feared end-times prophecies, hidden prophecies, never revealed to the world, that describe in detail what is to come: global wars, economic collapses, pandemics, the fall of great empires, and the emergence of a new power that will control the world. And the most frightening thing, there are those who say that these prophecies are not just predictions, but plans carefully drawn up and followed to the letter by those who know the truth. Now, imagine for a moment that the Vatican always knew all this, that these prophecies of the apocalypse, they were kept hidden not to protect us, but to ensure that the grand finale of human history happens exactly as written. There are reports that among these secret documents are descriptions of dates, names, and even the events that will trigger the end times. What if everything we are experiencing today was already planned centuries ago? What if the great tragedies of modern history are just part of an ancient script, kept under lock and key in the heart of the church? But what intrigues me most, and I'm sure it will make you think too, are the reports of contacts with celestial beings or extraterrestrials. Yes, you heard right. There are very strong theories and rumors that within the Vatican Secret Library, there are documents that prove that the Church has always known about the existence of other forms of life, that these contacts have been taking place for millennia, and that much of what was interpreted as divine in the Bible and other sacred texts were, in fact, encounters with beings from other worlds, entities that brought knowledge, technology, and even instructions for the future of humanity. Stories that speak of ships, lights in the sky, gods that descended from the stars and changed the course of human history. And if all of this is true, if the Vatican really is hiding this information, what else would they be able to do to ensure that these revelations never come to light? Is the fear of losing control over people's faith, over the power and influence they have built over the centuries, so great that it justifies keeping all of humanity in the dark? Because if these revelations came to light, If the world discovered that we have been manipulated all along, that our beliefs were built on lies or half-truths, what would be left of everything we know as faith? Now, I really want to know what you think about all of this. Do you believe that the Vatican really hides this other version of Jesus' story? Who keeps secrets about fallen angels, demons, hidden prophecies, and even extraterrestrial contacts? Comment the sentence below, "I want to know the hidden truth," or tell me which of these revelations intrigued you the most. To this day, the Vatican remains completely silent about these stories. No ecclesiastical authority is officially positioned to deny or confirm the rumors about what is really hidden inside the Vatican Secret Library. And this, let's face it, only increases the mystery and the feeling that there is something much bigger being carefully protected behind those ancient walls. Because when the subject is so serious, so delicate, and so surrounded by theories like this, silence becomes the most disturbing proof that we are facing secrets that should never become known to humanity. And what intrigues me most, and perhaps you have already asked yourself this question, is why there is so much protection, so much surveillance, so much resistance to even opening a loophole so that the world can have access to at least part of these documents. Think with me. If they were just historical records, ancient texts with no great relevance, why hide them? Why limit access so much to scholars, researchers, and even members of the Church itself? Why do Vatican Secret Library a true faith bunker, where only a select group is allowed to cross the gates and yet under total surveillance? The most obvious answer, and at the same time the scariest, is that what is stored inside cannot, under any circumstances, be exposed, because it would put at risk not only the image of the Church, but the very foundation of the Christian faith built over centuries. After all, if everything were harmless, if there weren't world-shaking information there, the Vatican wouldn't spend so much effort, time, and resources to keep these secrets buried. With each passing year, the structure of the secret library it modernizes, it strengthens, it becomes more impenetrable. State-of-the-art security systems, constant monitoring, and almost military control over who enters and what can be accessed. It even seems that they fear that a single sheet, a single manuscript, will be revealed and cause a chain reaction capable of shaking the structures not only of the Catholic Church, but of the entire Western civilization. And that's when the most uncomfortable question of all arises. What are they really hiding? What is so dangerous, so disturbing, so devastating in there that it justifies centuries of silence and absolute protection? Some scholars believe that among these secret documents are the true origins of the Catholic Church, information that would reveal how Christianity was shaped over the years, adapted to the political and economic interests of the time. There are those who say that concrete evidence of manipulation of sacred texts is there, ready to be discovered, but kept as the last defense of an institution that has always claimed to be divine, but which hides all too human secrets. Other theorists go further and claim that the Vatican keeps detailed records about contacts with entities from other worlds, prohibited documents which report pacts and agreements made between the Church and forces that we cannot even imagine. What if the true power of the Church lies not just in faith, but in access to knowledge that has been denied to humanity since the beginning of time? Knowledge capable of changing the course of history, revealing that we are not alone in the universe, that there is much more about our origin, our destiny, and the role of religion itself than we have ever been told. What if everything that the Church preaches as faith is just the tip of a gigantic iceberg, where what really matters, what really scares, is hidden in the depths of Vatican Secret Library? Imagine for a second that inside are the answers to humanity's greatest mysteries, who we are, where we came from, where we are going, and that these answers are so disturbing that their mere revelation would put an end to what we know as society. The Vatican's silence in the face of these questions is what is most frightening, because while the world evolves, discovers new planets, deciphers ancient secrets of ancient civilizations, the Church remains silent, guarding its own secrets as if they were cursed treasures. And you may have noticed that whenever someone dares to ask, dares to investigate, dares to get too close, their fate is never the best. They disappear, are discredited, lose space in the academic community, or simply disappear from the spotlight as if they had never existed. What makes all of this even more sinister is the fact that the Vatican has a veritable army of historians, theologians, and experts who have access to documents that we mere mortals will never see. People who know the truth, who have already read what is written on those pages yellowed by time, who know secrets that could never be said out loud. And these people live surrounded by fear, by the obligation of silence, by an oath of loyalty that spans generations, and that maintains the Vatican as the guardian of the greatest mysteries in the history of humanity. And it's impossible not to wonder, how long will this silence last? How long will the Vatican be able to keep all this hidden? What will happen if one day, even if by accident, one of these documents comes to light? Is the world prepared to deal with truths so profound, so shocking, that they can call everything into question? Because at this point, it's no longer just about faith or religion. We're talking about power, manipulation, control over humanity since the beginning of time. Now imagine for a moment the impact all of this would have if it came to light. How would the revelation of these forbidden documents and hidden manuscripts change the faith of millions of people around the world? How many, when faced with a truth different from what they have always heard, would be able to bear the weight of knowing that everything they believed in their entire lives was manipulated, distorted, or even created to serve the interests of an elite hidden in the shadows of religious power? Because when we talk about Vatican secrets, we are not just talking about loose theories or unfounded assumptions. We are talking about real documents, ancestral texts kept under maximum protection, precisely because the content of these pages has the power to shake the structures not only of the Church, but of the entire Christian faith. Have you ever stopped to think about what you would feel when you discovered that miracles, sacred stories, and even the figure of Jesus were shaped according to what was most convenient to maintain control over the population? What if the Jesus presented in pulpits, in images, and in sacred books was not exactly who they always said he was? And if the apocryphal Gospels hidden in Vatican Secret Library reveal a human Jesus with flaws, with fear, a man who fought against the system of his time and who, precisely for this reason, had his true history rewritten to keep the faith alive and under the control of those who dictated the rules? And the most disturbing thing, if all this manipulation had not been done simply due to a mistake or a misinterpretation of ancient texts, but rather on purpose, if over the centuries, popes, cardinals, and religious leaders had met in secret councils to decide what should or should not be told to the people, if they chose which books would enter the Bible and which would be erased from history forever. Because, let's face it, it's impossible not to wonder why so many ancient texts disappeared or were considered heresy. Wouldn't it be precisely because there was a truth in them that put the empire of faith that was built at risk? And how would you react if you discovered that in addition to the lies about the story of Jesus, there are also hidden prophecies that were hidden from the world out of pure fear? Prophecies that predicted wars, pandemics, catastrophes, and the collapse of the Catholic Church, and which, if they had been revealed, could have changed the course of humanity. But no, they are locked inside, guarded by a select group of men who decided that the world was not ready to know these truths. Men who preferred to keep power in their own hands, feeding the people's faith with half-truths and hiding what really matters. Now tell me, how would you look at the official story after knowing all this? Would you really believe that the Catholic Church has always been transparent, has always had the good of humanity as its priority? Or would you begin to see that behind the golden altars and grand ceremonies there is an ancient power game built on a foundation of carefully hidden secrets and conspiracies? Because the truth, my friend, is that when it comes to the Vatican, nothing is as simple as it seems. Every gesture, every silence, every piece of history has a reason. A hidden why that is only now beginning to be questioned by those who really want to understand what exists behind the heavy curtains of the largest religious empire in the world. What if we discover that we have been deceived for centuries, that everything we were taught in churches, schools, and even universities was just an edited version of real history? The feeling of betrayal would be devastating, Because we are not just talking about a government or any institution, we are talking about faith, about what guides the lives of billions of people, belief in the divine, in salvation, in the promised paradise. All of this could collapse in a matter of seconds if the truth came to light. And the big question that remains in the air is, are we really prepared for this? Could the world be able to face a reality where the Vatican always knew the truth, but preferred silence in the name of its own power? It's scary to think that perhaps everything we've believed since birth might be nothing more than a big lie, designed to keep us in check, to ensure that we never knew what really happened in those days when the Christian faith began to be shaped. Because if there's anything that time teaches us, it's that whoever controls the narrative controls the story, and whoever controls history controls the people. And in the case of the Church, this control was absolute, unquestionable, sustained by centuries of secrets and fear. And now I want to hear from you. What would you do if you discovered that everything you learned about the faith and history of the Catholic Church had been manipulated? Would you have the courage to face this truth, or would you prefer to continue believing the official story? Write the sentence here in the comments, "I want the truth, whatever the cost," or share with me what shocks you most about this possibility that we have been deceived for centuries. And the most impressive thing is to realize that, even with all the silence imposed by the Vatican and all the absurd protection over these archives, new researchers continue to try to break through this barrier and access the Vatican Secret Library. The desire to discover what is really locked behind those forbidden doors grows every year, and so does the number of scholars who dedicate their entire lives trying to unravel these mysteries. Many of them know the risk they are taking. They understand that challenging the largest religious empire in history could cost their reputations and even their lives, but they still remain firm, guided by the certainty that there is something inside that needs to be revealed to the world. What do they want to find? The answer is simple and at the same time frightening. They want the truth, the hidden truth, hidden for centuries, buried under the rubble of a faith that may not be exactly what we have been told. And in recent years, increasingly strong rumors have begun to circulate about possible leaks of information, documents, and even images coming directly from the Vatican Secret Library. Information that supposedly escaped Vatican control and began to circulate in a restricted manner in academic circles and among scholars of religious mysteries. No one knows for sure whether these leaks are real or another layer of conspiracy theories, but the fact is that more and more people claim to have had access to fragments of documents, excerpts from manuscripts, and even photos of old pages that have never been seen before. Pages that would talk about the true destiny of Jesus, about secret rituals performed by the Church, about hidden prophecies, and even about contacts with beings from other worlds. Some rumors claim that in these leaked documents there would be clear proof that the Church always knew about the existence of life outside Earth, that the encounters with the so-called angels described in the Bible could, in fact, have been contacts with extraterrestrial beings that brought knowledge and power to humanity. And the most disturbing, reports that these beings still maintained contact with the leaders of the Church in a silent pact maintained for centuries, away from the eyes of the people. Other rumors talk about the emergence of a secret group of scholars and religious people who would be willing to reveal to the world everything that has been hidden until today, even if it means the collapse of the faith in the Catholic Church itself. A group that would have managed to game the system and collect irrefutable evidence that we have been deceived and manipulated for centuries. And the question that remains is, what can we really discover in the coming years? Because if these leaked rumors are true, if this silent resistance movement really exists, it's only a matter of time before a bomb goes off and the truth finally comes out. And the impact of this will be devastating. Millions of people will see their faith crumble, entire institutions will crumble, and the world will be forced to rewrite its own history. It is no longer possible to deny that we are living in different times, times in which access to information is much easier, in which nothing can remain hidden forever. And if this applies to governments, companies, and the world elite, it will also apply to the Vatican, sooner or later. What once seemed untouchable is now beginning to show signs of fragility. With each new rumor, with each new suspicion of a leak, The people's trust is being undermined. And no matter how much the Church tries to maintain control, the truth is that interest in the hidden secrets of the Vatican has never been greater like now. Documentaries, books, videos, and theories spread by the thousands, further fueling the curiosity of those who no longer believe that the official version is the only truth. And it is precisely this thirst for answers that could soon make the world aware of the real content of some of these prohibited documents. Imagine the impact of discovering, for example, that the apocryphal Gospels contain passages that would change the entire narrative about Jesus Christ, or that there are ancient records about fallen angels and demons, with names, descriptions, and even detailed rituals that should never have been known to humanity. Imagine if concrete evidence emerged that prophecies about the end of times, they were hidden because the Church knew exactly what was coming and preferred to keep everything secret so as not to cause panic or lose control. Or worse, imagine if these prophecies were not just predictions, but part of a carefully executed plan over the centuries. What if, in a few years, documents come to light showing that humanity has never been alone? That since ancient times, religious leaders knew about the existence of other civilizations, other forms of life, and that this was always used as a currency of power, a tool of manipulation to keep the population under control? How would the world react? How would each of us deal with the idea that we have been deceived all along? Just imagining this possibility is enough to send a chill down your spine. And the most interesting thing, and at the same time, the scariest thing, is realizing that this scenario no longer seems as impossible as it used to be, because the signs are there, the clues appear more and more, and the thirst for answers grows every day. It is as if history itself is conspiring so that the truth will soon come to light. A truth so powerful, so dangerous, and so devastating that no one knows for sure if the world is really prepared to face it. And have you ever stopped to think about how far the Vatican's power of concealment goes? Could it be that behind those centuries-old walls there isn't something much greater than simple historical records? Because the deeper we delve into this investigation, the clearer the feeling becomes that the Vatican hides secrets so deep and disturbing that, if they were revealed, they could change everything humanity has believed in for centuries. And I'm not talking about little information or insignificant details, but rather documents, prophecies, prohibited manuscripts, and reports that would rewrite the history of the Christian faith, shake the pillars of the Catholic Church, and call into question the entire official narrative that has been told to us. Now think with me. Why so afraid? Why so much silence? Why does no one inside dare to even touch on these matters? The answer seems to lie within the walls of the Vatican Secret Library, built not only to protect ancient papers, but to keep away from humanity a truth that, if it comes to light, has the power to crumble the greatest spiritual empire on earth. What is recorded there about Jesus Christ that no one can know? What did they find out about fallen angels, demons, apocalyptic prophecies, or even extraterrestrial contacts? What would justify such protection and the absolute silence of the Church during all these centuries? And the most disturbing thing is that, even with all this siege, new generations of scholars, researchers, and curious people continue to approach, trying to break this barrier imposed by the Church, each of them carrying the same doubt that is probably now also in their head. Does the Vatican really hide secrets that could change the course of human history? Because if it's true, if just a fraction of these secret documents come to light, we're talking about the biggest revelation of all time. A truth that could completely alter what we know as faith, religion, spirituality, and even our own origin as a species. And right now, I really want to know what you think about all of this. Do you believe the Vatican really hides secrets that could change everything? Or do you think it's all just conspiracy theories? Comment below. I want to see your opinion. Write exactly this sentence: I believe the Vatican hides the truth. Or share with me which of these mysteries messes with your head the most. Because your opinion is very important to me and will help me understand how involved you are in this journey in search of the hidden truth. And I'm telling you, in the next video, I'm going to reveal one of the most controversial and shocking secrets kept inside the Vatican Secret Library, a prohibited document censored by the Church which brings a completely different version of the true destiny of Jesus Christ. And I guarantee you, you won't believe what I'm going to tell you. If you've made it this far, it's because you really like this type of content and are as involved as I am in these hidden secrets of the Vatican. So take advantage of this moment and subscribe to the channel now, because there's a lot more mystery, revelation, and forbidden stories coming, and I guarantee you won't want to miss it. And so I know that you stayed with me until the end of this video. Comment below on the sentence, "I made it to the end because I want the truth." Write exactly like this, so I can identify you and know who the real curious and truth seekers are, who accompany me until the end of each episode. Oh, and of course, don't forget to leave your like right now, because this helps me a lot to continue bringing this type of rare content, which few have the courage to talk about openly. The like of those who made it this far makes all the difference for this video to reach more people who also deserve to know these secrets. And before leaving, click on next video that is appearing on your screen, because there I will tell you another obscure chapter of Vatican mysteries, and I'm sure you'll get goosebumps at what's coming next. See you there.